I believe life is measured in memories. My life is better when I have more to look back on. A rather simple, hollow claim, but over these last few years, as events have grown less abundant and days have grown more mundane, I've found that memories are slowly becoming rarer. I can't tell if I walked through this path in the parking lot yesterday or if that was one of the other days. Almost every morning, I wake up in the same bed in the same exact way I did the day before, and by third period, I don't even remember what the drive to school is like. I've memorized the paths I take in hallways, which people I stop and wave at, which I do that weird little small head nod thing at, and which I don't acknowledge at all. Every day, it's the same. We forget almost 98% of our memories a month after they occur. This terrifies me. If we are not remembering them, then why are we even living them in the first place? I guess you could say that we live for the moments that we will remember. But this lack of awareness over which of my memories will remain makes me desperate to gain some control over what I will remember, and how I can remember as much of it as possible. For me, there were two methods to remembering more. The first lies in the premise that we remember experiences with intense emotions. But what I found was that the bad emotions were easier to replicate than the good ones. So I would manipulate my life to be full of these emotionally distressing scenarios because monotony always seems scarier than pain to me. Purposely losing friends so that I could feel that deep loneliness, listening to sad music, listening to Mitski, just so that I could feel even more sad. Slamming the brakes harshly in the middle of the road so that I could feel that sick stomach drop feeling that maybe just for a second I was about to die. These moments, they hurt, but I remember them, and I felt more alive because of that. I mean, we celebrate movies, novels, and other art forms for invoking hurt in us. So why wouldn't I treat my own life as if it were one of those art forms? If I were to tell a story about my life, I would rather be engrossed by its tragedy than numb by its vacancy. I don't remember stories that don't make me feel anything. But there was another method I found to remember more, a more optimistic approach. Every day, I would find ordinary moments and make them wonderful. I remember walking into school one day and seeing the imprint of a leaf on the sidewalk and literally bringing myself to tears over this collision with nature and our world. I remember in my sophomore year walking into the cafeteria and seeing that it was strung with holiday lights and just finding it so wonderful that someone took the time to hang up cute little glowing lights everywhere. I remember this year people literally running and screaming in the hallways because it was a Bosco stick day. and I swear, when I was in the PE locker room, I would hear like people plotting how they would get to the front of the line, and I just found it so wonderful how a ton of teenagers were mutually celebrating a mediocre stick of bread. Now, these moments were nothing more than that. Moments. But through optimism and making them some sort of weird anthropogenic message, I remember them. And I do this without hurting. Now, this method does remain particularly difficult, but I love the version of myself that is able to see the romance in our world rather than seeking out the pain. This method in particular is why I remember my first ever monologue show audition and the moments that followed. The morning of auditions went something like this. I was sitting in the hallway talking to my friend, Yoshis, and he turned to me and asked what I was going to do about monologue show. And I told him that I just couldn't, mainly because I was terrified. Then, 6 hours later, I was sitting in math class and another one of my friends, Ela turned to me and said that she hadn't signed up for an audition slot, but she was just gonna write a MoSho piece, just for fun, and that I should too. So, in between doing trigonometry problems, I scribbled down some words in my math notebook. Then, once the 8th period bell rang, she insisted that we go just to see if there were any audition slots open. To my relief and slight disappointment, there weren't any. But rather than trudging off, she again insisted that we go to the director's room to see if there was any other possible time that we could audition. And when we got there, he said, "No, you can go right now." I was surprised, but I expected my friend to step forward and begin her audition. But instead, she pushed me forward. And mainly out of my overwhelming fear of saying no to anyone or anything, I lifted the tattered piece of paper to my face and began to read. A month later, I performed those same words in the 2020 monologue show. And 2 years later, here I am. Now, I remember each and every moment of that monologue show audition process, from the first words I was told after my audition, to the first time I stood on this black box stage, to the way I felt going to sleep the night after I performed. Every day since that monologue show audition, I saw each part of my life as a story that didn't have to be a tragedy to be a memorable one. Now, I'm a senior, so this is my last ever monologue show. And I have had hurt that I remember, but I have had even more wonderfully ordinary moments that I remember. So now, I want every person in this room to take this moment, really sink into it, and remember it, because I will remember today. I will remember right now. I will remember.